محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم أجمعين ثم ما بعد. Today inshallah we'll be talking about one of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam tabi'in. Or tabi'i is the person who saw the the companions but did not see the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. A great man, a great honorable man from a great family that I'm going to tell you everything about him inshallah, so you could learn for your religion and then try to imitate these men inshallah. His name is Urwah ibn Zubayr, and he was tabi'i who was born towards the end of the Khilafah of Umar ibn al-Khattab. Before Umar ibn al-Khattab was assassinated, that's the time he was born. He was 1 year old, just when Umar was assassinated. His father is al-Zubay ibn al-Awwam radiyallahu anhu, a great Sahabi and companion of the Hawari Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Used to spend a lot of time with the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam. And he is one of those who was promised Jannah by the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The 10 people who was promised Jannah or being given a bushara to go to Jannah, his father was Zubair ibn Awam, is that person, one of these 10 great men. His mother is Asma bint Abi Bakr. Her father is Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiallahu anhu. And his auntie obviously is Khadija, and his auntie is Aisha radiallahu anha, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam's wife, and radiallahu anha. And his grandmother from his father's side, Az-Zubayr's mother is Safiyyah bint Abdul Muttalib, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam aunt. So he come from an honorable family. We need to learn from him. He did not see the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. However, he was brought up in a family that full of deen, fearing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and worshipping him was the main thing. The people around him, and he learned from them. From young age, he learned a lot about his religion, memorized the Quran, and acted upon what he learned from the Quran, and he memorized a lot of hadith, and he followed a lot of these companions who were still alive in Medina. He spent great time of his life in Medina, most of his life in Medina, and he learned a lot from the companions who were around the Prophet ﷺ masjid. One of the thing about his knowledge, he learned and he applied his knowledge. He taught a lot of people about his knowledge, especially young people, and also he applied it to in his life. And what he used to do, he used to fast every time. There's no opportunity for fasting unless Urwah ibn Zubayr, regardless of how hot is, Arabia, how hot is, an Arabian Peninsula. It's very hot, 50 degree, 40 degree. There's no time that he missed his fasting. Also his amal, his action with learning Quran. He used to read a quarter of the Quran by the kitab during the day, and at night he would read the same quarter off by heart. No fail, all his life. Every night, every day he will read a quarter. Who reads these days among us a quarter of the Quran on a daily basis, while also still doing all other duties? If we stop the phones that we're using and the time we wasting another thing, I think we'll have some time, because the hours is the hours. But he managed his hours properly. So he used to learn, read a quarter of the Quran on a daily, during the day, and read it off by heart, the same quarter at night. And he was khadeen al-Quran. He took the Quran as part of him. He's always with the Quran, and he lived by the Quran. His actions as well towards prayer, salah. He used to take salah seriously. The way he prays and the way he performed salah, and the way he spent preparation for salah was a role model to the people around him. So one day that he saw a man who came to the masjid and prayed quickly, and he stopped the man. He said to him, "I wanted to ask you questions. I see you prayed very quick. Don't you have anything to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in your prayer? Why don't you pause in your salah and ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala?" Then he continued and said to the man that I, Urwah ibn Zubayr, I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala everything in my life inside salah. It's even salt. I would ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give me the salt in my salah. We nowadays read إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ وَإِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينُ, which is a very important ayah in the Quran. If we don't read this surah al-Fatiha, which include this ayah إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ وَإِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينُ, our salah is invalid. However, we say إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين, which means, literally means, we only worship you and we only ask you for help. And while we're praying, we will be thinking about who else can give us help. I think we contradict ourselves, in what we say in our salah and our ibadah, and how, we act in our daily life. So I think we need to pay attention to what we say during the salah, inshallah. And such a story is important, and why I'm saying it is because I've learned this. I'm one of the people who rush off maybe sometime in the salah. Yeah, I'm not saying I'm perfect or anything, but I'm learning, and I want to pass this knowledge, inshallah, to you guys, to all my people who's watching this video. The other thing as well, we we spoke about his fasting, we spoke about his salah. So what about his charity? His charity was as well like a role model in his charity. His charity, they said, Urwah ibn Zubayr had a bustan. A bustan is a garden. There's so many different fruits in it, and Medina is full of bustans and trees, date trees, and all these kind of things. Yeah, so he had a bustan, and his bustan, he used to put a wall around it, while throughout the year. So when the harvest time comes and it's about to harvest the bustan, what he used to do, he used to knock the walls from certain areas, and he used to allow people to go inside the bustan and his garden. The bustan is being guarded, so go inside there, take as much as thing they want. They eat inside, all the fruits they enjoy, and they take to their families. And he did not used to say anything. He just encouraged them to do that one. And he always recited the ayah from Surah Al-Kahf, and وَلَوْلَا إِذْ دَخَلْتَ جَنَّتَكَ قُلْتَ مَا شَاءَ اللَّهِ. They used to recite this ayah while he's in his bustan. This will bring us, and reflecting in his learning from Surah Al-Qalam. Surah Al-Qalam, there is, the story of the man who left his kids, he left them a garden, and then when he died, they came and they tried to stop the poor people the father used to feed. So I think definitely Urwah ibn Zubayr, maybe he learned from that story, and he's got a bustan, and he allowed people to come and use his bustan, so he Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept from him. It's amazing, when people act in the Quran and learn from it and actually apply it into their lives. The other thing that we wanted to say about Urwah ibn Zubayr, that because of his taste and his knowledge, all the Khulafa used to come to him and ask him for advice and nasiha. Among the people who came to him was Umar ibn Abdul Aziz, and he gave him a good advice as well about fearing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala while ruling the people. And he used to say the way it is, not fearing the leaders or anything, and that gave him high respect, which made Al-Walid ibn Abdul Malik, after Umar ibn Abdul Aziz, to invite him to come and visit him in his house, in his palace, and I think in the Sham or Dimashq. So he went there, and he took his son, and he took also he traveled there, and he took his son with him. And when he reached there, he invited him. He spent time with him and everything. So Urwah ibn Abi Zubayr's son left where the room, the sitting room was, where people meeting, and he went to go to the stable, where the Khalifa's horses were, and one of the horses hit him, and he was the eldest of his son, and hit him hard. He passed away, he died. So when he learned about that, he said, Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. He took his son with other people, and they buried him. Few days later, while he was in the Khalifa time, before coming back to Medina, he fell ill, and he had a disease which affected his leg, and his legs become really swallowed, very big, large, and the doctors said the only thing that they could do about it is actually to cut that leg. There's nothing else they could do except cutting his leg. So they came to him and they said, we'll give you muskir, something to make you not feel the cut while we're cutting. And he said, no, I'm not gonna use haram thing to help me to obtain shifa and medicine from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, cure from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So they said to him, okay, we'll make you unconscious, make you sleep. He said, no, I would love to be awake while I'm feeling the pain of cutting my leg. So that pain, and it's having the patient while getting that pain, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will reduce it. It will give me a reward from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then they did what they said. They cut his leg while he was while he was awake. And he was saying La ilaha illa anta subhanaka inni kuntu min al-zalimin, La ilaha illa. He kept saying that until they cut the leg completely. Never shouted, never screamed. Then after that they brought a hot oil, so they dig his leg on it, inside it, to stop the blood coming. So when they took his leg and put it inside the hot oil, that time he collapsed, he fell unconscious, and that was the first time ever in his life, and the only time that he missed reading, his rubu' of the Quran and reading it at night as well. That's the only time. When he woke up, he asked them to give him his leg back, and then he looked at it and he said, "Oh, Allah knows." He carried his leg that they cut. And he literally said, "Allah knows, Allah is my witness, that I only, I did not walk with you, used you to walk me to haram." Subhanallah, this is like really thing that we need to reflect on. He said, "Allah knows that I always used to take me and carry me to go to the mosque." And that's when Khalifa obviously saw what happened to him and everything. He felt very, very sorry for him, and he did not know how to talk to him. He's lost his son, or he's lost his leg, a limb, and from his body. However, Urwah was patient. He was patient. He had sabr, he had iman and everything. So one visitor who came, while he was sick in another place, another room, people looking after him, and another visitor came to visit the Khalifa al-Walid ibn Abdul Malik, and this visitor was blind. And then the Khalifa asked him, said, "What made you blind?" Then the man said, "I am from Bani Abs, and I was the richest man in my town. I was the richest man in my town, or in my village. And I had, alhamdulillah, blessed from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with a lot of money, animals and everything, and a lot of kids, and everything. And one day," he said, "I decided to travel with my family, with everything that belongs to me, and move to another place. While we crossing a valley, water came, the rainwater came, from top of the mountain in a top speed. And it took all my animals and all my belongings and all my family. It took everything, and what left for me was a baby child, that was left over, and a camel, she camel, a camel that people did not use to ride or anything. It was not being trained yet." He said, "While I was holding the child in one hand and holding the rope for the camel on the other hand, the camel ran away from me." He said, "I needed that camel because that's the only thing that left with me. So I left my child and I ran after the camel because I did not want to drop the child while I'm running. So I left him on the floor and I started running after the camel." He said, before I reached the camel, I looked behind me. I heard a shout, scream. I looked behind me, and there was a big wolf, and had my son's, the baby born son, in his mouth. His head, the baby's head in his mouth, and ran with it. He said, "I tried to chase it, but obviously he's gone. I couldn't chase it. So what I decided to do is run after after the camel. And when I got closer to it, it jumped off and hit me very hard on my forehead, which made me unconscious. When I woke up, I was blinded. I could not see anything. That's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala took everything from me on one day, even my sight. And this is how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tested me." So he said to him, "Go to Urwah ibn Zubayr and tell him about it." Obviously, Urwah has great iman, so he taken that hikmah and taken other hikmahs, around him. He was patient anyway. And this one was actually just to increase his iman and faith in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that is, a test is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's eminent to those who believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we always have to encourage each other to be patient, to have sabr, and also to not blame ourselves when the calamity happens, and know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is testing our sabr. And we always remember that when something happens, we always say inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. I will add later on a few videos about other things that Urwah did, but I'll end it here inshallah. Please share this video to as many people. If you like it, comment as well. Thank you very much.